Have you seen these Instagram viral threads? There's the George Floyd ones. And
George Droid? Those ones?
there's those. Yeah. But there's like, I call it FloydGate, where now I think we're seeing largely like Indian people are making any AI George Floyd videos. It's like, it's one thing when Derek Chauvin's stealing fried chicken from George Floyd. Mm-hmm. It's another when it's just George Floyd with his baby and his baby saying dada, which is like, it's getting crazy. But there's a string of videos that are appearing on Instagram that are just racist jokes and targeting everybody. There's videos making fun of fat white trash people, but a lot of these anti-Indian, I shouldn't call it anti-Indian, but mocking Indians, where it's like, there's one where a judge goes, for scamming, you are being sentenced to a 15-minute shower. And the Indian guy goes, no, please, not a shower. And then it shows an Indian guy screaming in a shower. They have millions of views. The reason I bring this up is there was a video that my friend told me about, who is not political. This is a dude who does not engage in politics at all and knows nothing about it. And he said Instagram suggested a Nick Fuentes reel where Fuentes was saying, everybody knows that the crime is coming from the black neighborhoods. Nobody wants to live there. He says it's irresponsible to bring your wife and child to black neighborhoods. And everybody knows when you talk about shootings and crime, you're talking about black people in black neighborhoods. That has millions of views. And people I know that, like, again, I'm stressing this, who don't engage in politics on Instagram, who are watching videos of Legos and Star Wars, got recommended that. That is crazy that Instagram is promoting that in their algorithm and that people are sharing it. And all the comments were like, Fuentes is right.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? So
I'm saying that the perception, when you brought up, you made the comment to Connor about saying something about black communities. Whether it is true or not is not material to what I'm pointing out. I'm pointing out that there is one, big tech is allowing the narrative and pushing it. And there are many people who are now coming out publicly saying, yes, that's what I believe.
Yeah, so I think this is exactly, if there is a problem in terms of the perception here with respect to, race, that's even more of an issue that we wouldn't want the government to be overstepping its legal bounds in terms of authoritarianism and in terms of disemployment. Because if we are concerned that people will make these kinds of stereotypes and it will infringe on other foundational protections like equal protection, I think that would be even more concerning.
What if they're true?
That black people, it is true that black people disproportionately commit more crime than white people.
Right.
So
then what's the problem?
The problem is the potential rights deprivation. That would you be okay with, for example, there being a lower standard to stop black people than white people go?
Yes.
So you're in favor of, so just to be clear.
If it saves people's lives, yes.
Okay, so you're in favor of black people having a lower standard of stop than white people. This is where this kind of thinking gets. So when you ask, like, is this fascism? This is the kind of fascistic thinking.
It's not fascism. I do want to hang on. Sorry, Tim. I have to. It's not fascism. Inequality is not fascism. Fascism is the sublimation of everybody to the state. It is a coherent philosophy. It's a stupid philosophy, but it's a coherent philosophy. Saying fascism is just saying, oh, you're noticing differences, therefore you're evil. Okay?
No, you're not just noticing differences.
Yes.
I was happy to say that, the stats show that disproportionately black people, Hispanic people commit more crime than white people. I'm happy to notice things. What you said is not just notice it, but you want to apply a different constitutional standard. That
No,
is
I
to
didn't
say
say constitutional standard.
a different search and seizure. Well, search and seizure is adjudged under a constitutional standard, the Fourth Amendment. So under that amendment, there's no like black people get less search and seizure protections than white people. And you said, I just want to be clear. I'll give you an opportunity to retract it. Black people should have lower rights under that search and seizure
lower
standard.
rights. You're being very disingenuous.
Go for it. Yeah.
I'm saying there should be
lower it for everybody, because right now we've got a ton of murder, and those who are innocent will be protected. You have
so white people should be treated the same as black people. Is that right?
Hang on. Legally speaking, that's fine, but you would be justified in certain neighborhoods which are disproportionately black to have a harsher search and seizure policy, like as in more police presence, more stop and search, because it would save lives.
But hang on, a presence.
And you can do it based off of region.
If you're doing
the region, like it or not, overlaps with ethnicity.
Okay, but
what's the
you can do a
melanin
deployment.
count? You can say no, this area.
You don't need to get a color swatch out.
You could do a deployment based on crime, and it happens to coincide.
But it's not going to happen to coincide.
But that's not what you said.
No. It's not going to happen to coincide. That's just the honesty about it. You're going to deploy it to black neighborhoods to save the lives of black people and other people that stumble.
Let me ask this real quick. What do you think about saying that transgenders can't buy guns?
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous, right?
Why?
Because the Second Amendment protects people's individual right to own guns. Right?
Yeah, but what if they're a biochemical engineered ticking time bomb to kill Christian children?
If they are that,
Yeah.
okay. If they are a biological ticking time clock, that's bad. But not every trans person is a biological ticking time bomb, and it wouldn't justify it. So you could say that about any group, right?
Well, maybe.
But hang on a second. You understand this logic. You acknowledge that there have been Christian nationalist shooters, right?
I mean,
It's questionable?
I'd have to look at the person
At
and
least
determine
one?
whether or not they're a Christian nationalist.
Do you think that there hasn't been at least one Christian nationalist shooter?
Again, I'd have to look at that guy and see his views to tell you what. I'm a Christian nationalist.
Okay.
There are plenty of people who call themselves Christian nationalists
Who do violence,
who are not
right?
Christian nationalists.
Okay.
They are not.
They at least self-report as Christian nationalists.
There are always retorted
some
people, yes.
self-identifying Christian nationalists went out and committed a shooting.
Here's the difference.
Would you be like, okay, well, they're ticking time bombs of violence, so we
No,
should take away their gun
absolutely
rights?
not. Because there's a difference in
But
somebody
what drugs are
having
they?
a certain view versus somebody literally being chemically engineered to be crazy. These hormones actually, we're talking about a biological shift that makes someone unstable.
I have a question for Pisco.
Yeah.
Because you said no, right? Like trans people should be allowed to have guns.
Yes. Do you agree?
Do you believe that? I think the answer is yes. Yeah. I think they should be allowed to have guns. I don't think the Second Amendment says that you have the right to keep and bear arms unless you're found deficient by the state. But do you think under the DSM-5 certain mental disorders would disqualify you from owning guns?
Correct. Yeah. But transgenderism is not a mental disorder.
So this is important.
Yeah.
What you're basically saying is
should
that
be.
you have a personal opinion.
It should be.
Hold on. What you're saying is, here's a list of mental disorders. You have an opinion that some should or should not be disqualifying.
Yeah.
I think none of them should be disqualifying.
Okay, so schizophrenics should be allowed to own guns?
Yes.
No.
The Second Amendment says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You got a problem with it? Amend it.
Okay. I mean,
Then amend it.
I think that Scalia,
Agreed.
Scalia and Heller said that there are certain categories, just because it's the same thing with free speech.
Yep.
He's wrong.
Indeed. And so is Kavanaugh. And so this is where we get to an interesting argument where you, I believe, are putting subjective morals onto the Constitution, which you accused us of doing. My argument is this. The Founding Fathers were pretty dang clear when they were drafting the Constitution, the reasons for why they were doing it, and what the Second Amendment says. We as a society cannot exist with a written Constitution where we arbitrarily decide without amending it that we've changed it.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. And I don't think that I'm amending it by incorporating some standards that were then existing. That's what the Bruin case recently, which was much more protective of Second Amendment rights than before. I mean, we have a big protection of Second Amendment in recent cases.
Kids had guns.
But why do you value the Second Amendment more than like the militia clauses for purposes of like the standing army situation? The Second Amendment, if anything, is reifying, is promoting the militia, right? The state-run militias.
Wrong.
A well-regulated militia being necessary. No,
what does regulated mean?
I understand. Yeah.
What does regulated mean?
Yeah. So I understand that like the Second Amendment also incorporates an individual right. I'm not just
What does
saying
regulated
I'm
mean?
not saying so. Regulation means government restriction.
It does not.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Who are the regulars?
And also,
who are the regulars?
Yeah. So in training as well. And so government.
Okay.
The government ability
Slow down.
to train.
I don't want to gloss over this.
Yeah.
Who were the regulars?
The states were in charge of running their militias.
Who were the regulars?
Oh, sorry. The regulars.
Is it proper noun?
Yeah. So a regular militia people were of the community. I don't know what you mean by regulars in that context.
Okay. So the soldiers of the British Army were called regulars.
Yeah.
Regulation back then in this context referred to functioning, not government sanctioned.
So the Second Amendment anticipates the use of the militia, which are people like not regulars in that sense,
Exactly.
but are part of the community, are members of that's what the militia was.
Regulated in this context means their guns should be functioning and equipped.
Again, I'm not having a Second Amendment debate with you on the merits. I'm just telling you that the Second Amendment does, as understood by the Supreme Court, anticipate some individual rights. So I'm not contesting that.
The point I'm bringing up with
why
this,
do you value that right over the other restrictions in the Constitution, giving to Congress the ability to regulate the militia and to set forth for calling forth the militia that Trump is violating? So you seem to respect one part of the Constitution,
the right
Second
of the
Amendment,
people
more than
to keep and
Congress's
bear arms
powers.
shall not be infringed.
Yeah, why do you keep repeating that?
Because that's what it says.
Okay.
So
I'm asking you a question. Why do you respect the Second Amendment?
Because one
more
is good,
than
I respect
and the
all
other
of it.
one is being used for bad.
No, wait.
you just said that you
That's
shouldn't do that. You shouldn't interpose your subjective opinion before the framers' design. That's what you said.
So can we, without vote, change the Constitution?
No, you shouldn't be able to. No.
So when it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, can we infringe upon the right to keep and bear arms without vote?
No.
Okay, I don't understand.
You need to amend the Constitution. In the meantime, though, what you can do is you can say that for the same reason that, people who are schizophrenic can't own guns, you could actually say this is a condition that bans somebody.
I'm approaching this just from a logical platform, and this is why I think conservatives, liberals, libertarians, everybody, maybe not the anarcho-capitalists, are lying to themselves.
Why do you?
Nobody actually wants the Constitution. They just use it when it's convenient for their ends.
That's correct.
No, hang on. That's not true.
Yeah.
So
yes, it is.
That is not true. The Second Amendment was never understood.
We had blasphemy laws in this country for hundreds of years.
Bring them back. Bring them back. Blue laws, Sabbath laws. Let's go. Talk about the First Amendment. I'm ready for that one.
That's the point. My point.
The Second Amendment was never understood to mean that you can't put any restrictions on the ability of people to keep and bear arms. For example, ex-felons. It was always understood that the right to keep and bear arms does not extend to ex-felons.
Yes, and also, did you know that in the 1800s, it was commonplace for local sheriffs and big cities to confiscate the weapons of individuals entering those towns? The Constitution, as people believe it to exist, never existed. Never did.
Right. It's all
maybe the Third Amendment.
So even when you think about like blasphemy laws, for instance, you know, like if somebody blasphemed Jesus Christ, you're in trouble. If somebody blasphemed, Muhammad 100 years ago, you're not in trouble. Why? Well, it's not equal weights and measures. No, it doesn't need to be equal weights and measures.
Now it's the other way around.
One God is true. That's correct. One God is true, and the other one is false. And it's the political will of the people who ultimately are determining that. So it's not. We have all these laws, and we have the Constitution to bind us and to restrain us from doing good.
Do you respect the Constitution?
I respect the Constitution insofar as it aligns with the immutable law of God and insofar as the law is used lawfully. The book of James says the law is good so long as it's being used lawfully. You want to use laws to ensure that more people are still murdered. I want to use laws to promote
criminalize blasphemy.
Yeah, what?
To criminalize blasphemy.
Oh, absolutely, of course. Yes, I want to use
Who
laws
decides?
to stop wickedness.
Who decides what's
and
blasphemous?
Promote good. What?
Who decides what's blasphemous?
The guy with the gun.
The Lord Jesus Christ, the triune God.
He's not around to tell us.
Secondly, you can look to our heritage. You can look to our history. You can look to what the nation
Well, our
was in
heritage
its
says,
founding.
First Amendment, the very first line, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment
Correct.
of religion.
Congress. Let's get there. So First Amendment, let's make it even simpler. First word of the First Amendment. You're right. Congress cannot make a national church. So you cannot have a federal church over the whole country that is Episcopalian or Catholic or Baptist or whatever. But at the time that happened, you still had within the original colonies, 10 or 11 out of the 13 colonies had sanctioned churches. So technically, even with the First Amendment as it is on the books today, you could have state churches. Texas could be, Baptist, and Mississippi could be Presbyterian. You could have state churches. I'm not even saying that you should, but you could have state churches. What I would argue for at the national level is a pan-Protestant Christian nationalism. I think we should adopt a preamble.
That's a religion, isn't it?
What?
Isn't that a religion?
That's religion. Congress can't determine a religion. Congress cannot say at the national level,
the 14th Amendment incorporates the First Amendment to apply to the states, I'll say, and the Second Amendment also didn't used to apply to the state governments. Are you suggesting under your framework you would not want the Second Amendment?
My theocratic framework.
So under your theocratic, you called it a theocracy.
Yes,
under your theocracy,
of course. Theocracy is wonderful.
Okay, got it. So this is what I mean.
God above the state. So separation of church and state is not the same as separation of Christ and state. There will be a God above the state. If there's no God above the state, then the state becomes God. Yep. So yes, I want Christ and state not severed. Church and state, that's different.
So we can have some corrupt priest telling us what we're allowed to say and not?
Nope, that's an ecclesiocracy.
No,
that's a church-run state.
Corrupt,
I'm saying
whatever you want to call it. Whatever your corrupt ministers, your corrupt people.
No, but what you're saying is not what I'm saying.
Okay, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
No, you're talking about priest running the state. That's a church-run state. I'm saying a theocracy, not ecclesiocracy.
So this is it will happen. I agree with Pisco, but it'll happen in any system among any group of people for any reason.
Correct. So we have priests who are running things right now, and the high priestesses have blue hair. They're transgender. They're lesbian. They abort 1 million babies every single year. We have sacraments. It's not whether but which. Right now we have sacraments, right? Our sacraments are that it's the blood of unborn children. Our sacraments are transgender, surgeries to minors. Every society has a God. Every society has an orthodoxy. And we have blasphemy laws, not necessarily on the books, but in terms of cultural power, every society of people has an orthodoxy. Anything that's deemed outside of that is going to be considered blasphemy. There are things that I could say right now, which I won't, but things that I could say right now that would be treated as blasphemy. I would ruin my life. I wouldn't be able to feed my kids. That's every society. Every society.
Would you criminalize apostasy and heresy?
Oh, no. Okay, so if somebody's not a Christian, right? This is not the way that our country was in the very beginning. It would not be mandated church attendance, right? The Sabbath, we're talking about Chick-fil-A, guys. It's not the end of the world. It would be okay.
Bro, when I can't get my grilled nuggies.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But you know what? If you just go to church all day, Tim, you would be okay. You know what I mean? You'd forget about it.
The libertarian, you have something to say
potlucks.
about this. I mean, why do you just say it's all, you put your hands up in the air?
I'm not a child.
What's that?
Because I'm not a child. Michael Malice.
Apostasy would not, just real quick, apostasy would not be criminalized.
Okay.
So think of it like this, the 10 Commandments. I think this is helpful. I'll say it quick and I'll let it go. Think of the first and the 10th commandment. All right, I'm Protestant, okay? So the Catholics are going to take, the 10th commandment of thou shalt not covet and bifurcate it into two. Don't covet stuff and then don't covet the wife, and that's so they can get rid of the second commandment, which is do not make graven images because the Catholics like their images. All right, so I'm a Protestant, so bear with me. First commandment is thou shalt have no other gods before me. Last commandment is do not covet. 2 tables, 10 commandments, but think of it as 2 headlines, 2 subcategories, tables of the law. Our duty toward God, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. And then the second is love your neighbor as yourself. The first 4 of the 10 commandments deal with our love for God. Have no other gods before me. Don't make any graven images. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. And remember the Sabbath. The next 6, second table of the law now, pertaining to our love for neighbor, is honor your father and mother. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness, and don't covet. The 10th commandment, I don't want any police state enforcing the 10th commandment because coveting is a sin, but biblically speaking, and all through the Old Testament and America's history, coveting was a sin, but it was never viewed as a crime, right? You don't want like a Tom Cruise Minority Report where they're trying to predict crimes and sins of the heart.
Well, I don't.
And neither do I.
Okay. I don't know. You support this deployment.
No, I don't. Let me finish. So coveting is a sin. It's not a crime. So it's like, so then when is this 10th commandment, one of the 10 commandments, when is it punished? It's punished when an individual doesn't check coveting at the level of the heart and it spills over into theft or to murder it's when it breaches, now it's a crime. It's an outward action that is against the people and against the Lord. And so too with the first table of the law, look at the first commandment, have no other gods before me. So are we going to be, that's a sin, not a crime. Am I going to be punishing people for their idolatry in their heart? No. But if it spills over into action. So if a guy...
For example,
that's right.
Public prayers to Muhammad.
So if a guy apostatizes privately in his heart and stops attending church, that's one thing. But if that guy forms the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, is doing parades, mocking and blaspheming Jesus Christ with adulterous nuns in front of children, okay, now it's a crime.
Or publicly stating that Jesus is not divine. For example, if a Jewish person publicly states and rejects the divinity of Jesus Christ, that would be a public action that you could be sanctioned for.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.